I was listening to fucking Kajagoogoo and Culture Club and stuff like that. And that got instantly banned, and that was like a big thing. I think it'd be a real pain in the ass, to be honest.
Hello. Oh, I can't hear you by now.
Hello? I can hear you. Hello, 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 hello. Everything. We'll try again. Try. Oh, can you hear me?
I still can't hear you. Oh no.
Still nothing. Scheiße.
Hallo Philipp.
Hi.
Ich habe einen kleinen Notfall. Und zwar, ich bin gerade in meinem Interview per Zoom-Call mit Dani
Ja,
Filth und ich höre ihn nicht. Kannst kurz schauen?
warte kurz.
Ja.
Ja,
No idea why it's
Ja,
so.
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
okay.
Amazing. Alright. Vielen Dank, Philipp. Bis bald. Tschüss.
How did he fix it?
I don't know. Colleague of mine got on my computer and he fixed it. He's a technical genius. I'm not. So great to have you here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
That's great to hear. And I've already had a chance to listen to your new record. So if you're ready, we can start with the interview.
absolutely.
As I just said, I've already had a chance to listen to your new record, The Screaming of the Valkyries, and I particularly like the song Non Omnis Moria. It's very melancholic. The song title translates as Not all of me will die, or in German, it would be Ich werde nicht gänzlich sterben. And if I remember it correctly, the line comes from an old poetic testament by Roman poet Horace in English. And so I wondered what was your inspiration for that song?
The inspiration was the song itself when it was initially written. I mean, it's slightly different, but not a million miles from how it ended up, and it just gave me vibes that led to that title. Um, Obviously, a discussion or a mantra. No, an explanation even by one person to another, like his lover or a very dear friend. That even though he's off, he's going to die. The part of him will always remain with this person, and when the next person leaves this life as well, they will meet again um, in their Avalon. Their heaven, the place where they've forged as a place. So yeah, it's a sort of song about hope, despite the fact that yeah, it's very melancholic.
Yeah. Do you believe that something will remain of us after we die?
Well, hopefully with me, at least 14 albums. Um, but
Absolutely.
yes, I suppose I do. I'm a bit of an atheist when it comes to the afterlife because all religions um, are based or have some basis in a life after death and the reward after death, but not one person's ever proved it. So that's just me being scientifically astute. Like, you know what? I think the odds here are against it. But that being said, I am a bit of a mystic and I love the occult. And so the ideology of an afterlife or another level of consciousness rather than being, what we know now, I think it's possible.
Yeah. So let's stick to the topic of immortality. There's a song on your new record called Exsangue Draculae, from the blood of Dracula. And many people see you as a vampire anyway. So what do you think it is like to live forever, to be immortal?
I think it'd be a real pain in the ass, to be honest. No, I think it would be. And then you've got to run the risk of if you're immortal. Well, no, you're not immortal, are you? Because you can die. There's always the running the risk of someone imprisoning you in a concrete ceiling, in a coffin, sealing you in concrete and putting you at the bottom of the sea. So you just spend your entire existence in a box.
Yeah.
So you know, because obviously if people do find out you're immortal, they're going to want to need to prove it. Um, yeah, I mean, imagine it's a very lonely existence. I mean, I think immortality would be a bit of a stretch, but to live two or three lifetimes, I
Mhm.
think that would be viable. I don't think you'd get too insane doing that. As long as you spend, it was like stretched out, so you didn't spend, I don't know, the normal amount of time being a teenager and then 400 years being like an elderly gentleman. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're spaced out and your life was just three times longer or four times longer, I think that'd be preferable to immortality.
Yeah, absolutely. You just made me remember the movie Interview with the Vampire. Perhaps you have seen it with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. And one of the vampires was put in a coffin and they shoved it into a hole in the wall and tried to bury him alive forever. And that really scared me. I was, oh fuck, that's not a good place to be, being a vampire.
No,
So yeah.
absolutely not.
Um, Another song that caught my attention on the new record is Demagoguery. And when you look at the world, hasn't reality already caught up with the dark and threatening lyrics?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the point. I mean, I do try to keep my lyricism and the ideology of and look of the band um, deeply rooted in escapism, and um, I feel that sometimes you can use analogies and metaphors and that because you can't help. For example, with this record, the title, "The Scream of the Valkyries," um, represents, being that close to the doomsday clock. That if you hear this sound, you know that the Valkyrie have fallen and Ragnarok is occurring. It's the end of everything. So yeah, you can't help but be influenced by the outside world. I mean, you can all the metaphors and the allegories and hints and um, metaphors, etc. And that can only do it justice so much. It's going to infiltrate. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, everyday life, the conflicts that are going on in the world at the moment, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, China, North Korea, Taiwan, etc., whatever's happening there. Um, the inauguration of Donald Trump. Uh, it just can't help but stamp its authority on everything you do, whether you just live in escapism or not. Um, and yeah, demagoguery is no exception. It's a song about essentially, if you take away the the escapist lyrics, about a darker force um, spreading, you know, fake news, false information. It's very, it's very now, isn't it? With the
Yeah.
talk, what Russia's doing with cyber crimes and influencing votes and trying to sway people's opinion. And it's like AI generated stuff as well. It's getting to the point now that even on, like something like Instagram, for example, it's very hard or very easy to be misled in thinking something's happening with this footage, and then you like correlate it and go, "This is AI," or "This is footage from like 20 years ago from a different town." It's very easy to have misinformation spread, and essentially that's what's at the core of that song.
There's a lot to worry about. Yes, so true. And let's get to happier topics. In addition to your music, you're also famous for your image and your look. And I've always loved it when a band has a certain image. My first album was Kiss Alive. Back then I was like 3 years old. And even later on, I was always fascinated by bands with a unique look. For example, that's how I discovered Venom. Back in the 80s, when I was really, really small kid, I saw a picture of Kronos surrounded by flames, a snake around his neck, and I said, "Oh yeah, I will love this band." And I wondered what inspired the image of Cradle of Filth and what inspired your styling.
Well, me too. When I got into metal, I got in at the deep end. I went straight from Ozzy to Maiden to Merciful Fate to Venom, Slayer, Celtic Frost, very quickly. I went from looking at copies of Krang to ordering Metal Forces fanzine, and tape trading and obscure thrash metal records. But yeah, that was the thing for me was the bigger, the brasher. I mean, King Diamond stole my. I was like in awe of King Diamond. I thought, wow, that's great look. And Venom, obviously. Um, I actually I had a pet rabbit that I called Kronos as well when I was young. I was really into the black metal album. I loved it. And Bathory, of course.
Yeah.
And Celtic Frost were obviously another band that really made the effort to look great. Early Destruction. But with Cradle, I guess it was a mixture of everything. The goth scene, the English goth scene, as sort of portrayed by God, what was that? The Batcave, that kind of imagery, the sort of
Mm.
Bauhaus, sunken eyes look. Um, we liked that. Um, and I guess yes, in the early days, it was definite. The black metal panda makeup that was a thing for a little while, but we just added more finesse to it, I guess. And we're also very much into the vampire scene. We played the Vampirio Ball a couple of times. Um, and yeah, I used to subscribe to Velvet Vampire and go to all these events and everything like that. So vampirism was a really big thing. So the look of that crowd permeated our original ideas when we were forming the band. So yeah, I agree with you. I was all up for and still am for making it completely escapist. Like you get the whole package. You get the videos, you get the
Yeah.
lyrics, the artwork. You get great music. It speaks to you, and it looks great as well.
You just mentioned Ozzy Osbourne. You once said in an interview, if I remember it correctly, that Ozzy Osbourne's werewolf look at on Bark at the Moon made you want to be in a band. Do you remember this feeling you had
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then?
yeah, absolutely. We every Christmas, my family would all sort of meet up at this uh like community centre that they'd hire, and we'd have a disco, we have lots of food, and the kids could run around and what have you. And I remember my cousin, who I knew was into heavy metal, bringing the Bark at the Moon single with him and playing it, and I was like blown away by how heavy it was, because you're a kid. I was listening to fucking Kajagoogoo and Culture Club and stuff like that, Ultravox.
I
And
like Kajagoogoo as well. Limahl was a great singer.
well, I'm still into Ultravox, and I was into
Yes.
Ultravox because they were dark. They had a very dark
Yeah.
ambience about them that I found in heavy metal, but with more of it. It was like heavy metal amplified everything. They didn't just hint at things. They put it on the fucking front cover with blood dripping out of its mouth. Um, and yeah, it was total escapism. It was great. It didn't matter if you couldn't hear the lyrics. Some albums didn't come with lyrics, and
Yeah.
between the album, the music, you paint your own picture and your own vision of what the lyrics were about. And yeah, magical times. But I always gravitated towards the people that really made the effort. And in the 80s, there were so many bands, that really went the full hog. And you'd always see them on the back of the album covers. They have their guitars up in the air and there'd be like fire
Yeah.
coming out of them. And or yeah, it'd just be great. Wasp, an-
Yes.
another band, and though it's only recently, even though I've been a massive fan of Wasp since a kid, only really recently, like in the last 2 or 3 years, I actually went, you know what? Fucking hell, most of the first album of Wasp is based on God of Thunder by Kiss. And
Yeah.
then it suddenly slid into place. It's like Marilyn Manson and the David Bowie connection. It's like fucking hell, yeah. Because when I joined, Kiss were already probably about fucking 200 years old when I got into heavy metal. But Wasp had just released their first record. So I hadn't assumed, I thought they grew up side by side, but it was definite that Wasp were heavily, heavily influenced by Kiss.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I remember it back then. I was very early in all this kind of music because I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than me, and he had older friends as well. And they brought the records to our home, and I was fascinated by the cover artwork. And when I saw the first Wasp record, those guys looked amazing. The music was great. School Days, great song. I want to be somebody and all the stuff on that. And all the
They
little
did Fuck
details.
Like a Beast as well, which was like, whoa,
Yeah.
back in the 80s.
I didn't understand the lyrics back then. I didn't
They,
speak
they,
any
they
English,
such a
so
fucking big thing with the PMRC. They really
yes.
drew attention to everything. There was a band called Impaler,
Yeah.
and they had now called EP, and it was I've got it somewhere. I've got it. Uh, Rise of the Mutant, and the guy's just got like raw meat hanging out of his mouth, and that got instantly banned, and that was like a big
Yes.
thing. And I think it just if you heard a swear word on a record like "fuck like a beast," it blew it all out of proportion. It
Yeah.
magnified the
Yeah.
intention of that record and made it even more like, whoa, fuck.
Yeah, and some time ago, I read about the so-called Filthy 15 by the PMRC, 15 songs that were called the most violent and problematic of the time. And there was stuff by Prince and was
Yeah. I saw that.
and not good. It was insane. It was totally insane.
Yeah. I saw that as well. It was very surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and a good choice of music from the 80s. So I really liked it. It would be a good playlist, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, I have to ask you one thing about you've been asked a million times, I know, but is there any news about a collaboration with Ed Sheeran? You recorded a song together some time ago, but it hasn't been released yet, as far as
No,
I
there's
know.
no news about it. We're obviously we've got a new album out. Didn't want to overshadow that, and then there's something coming up on Ed's horizon that we've got to avoid as well. So just have to wait a little bit longer. Uh, but as I said, it's all done and dusted, and it sounds fucking amazing. And yeah, the thing is, there is no real rush for it because we didn't put it on the record.
Yeah,
Um, it's not like there's no one going to. It's not like someone's going to bring out a song that's similar. This is not going to happen.
yeah,
So and it's we're not teasing with it. It's just literally, we could have brought it out with before the record or whatever, and it just wouldn't have served. It would have done detriment to what we're doing at the moment. So yeah, just bear with it. People are going to
yeah.
hear it, and then they'll get bored of it after playing it like fucking 400 times or something. So, you know, enjoy the expectation.
I do, I really do. And I had a chance to do an interview with Ed Sheeran some years ago. He wasn't that big at the time. He played Southside Festival and festival nearby, and our station covered it. And we talked for a very long time, and he told me about the meanings of his tattoos and stuff. And he was really such a nice, down-to-earth guy. You met him already being the big star, big Ed Sheeran. What was it like for you? How is he? Nowadays.
He was awesome. We've been chatting quite a bit, going backward and forward, emailing. For a few years prior to it. And then suddenly he was like, hey, you know what? I've got a couple of weeks off just before Christmas. And then he just said, can I come down Thursday? I went, yeah, sure. And the thing was, I was questioning it on the day. I went, he's going to ring us when he's near, but I didn't ask if he's bringing anyone with him.
Yeah.
Is he worried about anybody? Literally nothing. So he just turns up. He borrowed his wife's car, very incognito, like a mini countryman, Um, he had his guitar, he had a cradle hoodie on, guitar slung over his back, and it was just him on his own. Uh,
Great.
and he hadn't asked, like, full intents and purposes. We could have had like 10 people there, like, friends, family, people who, my daughter could have had
Yeah.
any there, but we didn't because we were being respectful and also we were working. And we just had a great day, very down to earth. You know, he was there the whole day. Well, till mid afternoon because he finished everything. And then I said, you hungry? And he was like, yeah, cool. So we took him to the local country pub. Um, yeah, that was it. Basically, it was just cool. And I kept in contact with him up until the point. I haven't spoken to him for a while because I just feel like, you know, probably one of the biggest artists in the world. I know what it's like
Yeah.
when people keep bugging me, and and I'm hardly anywhere near that stature. So I just have, we'll talk again, I guess, when closer to the release of it. But yeah, really nice guy.
That's really great to hear. I'm glad to hear this. And I have one last question for you. You once thought about a career as a journalist, and you wrote to our colleagues at Metal Hammer magazine for 2 years. And over the years, you've spoken to countless journalists as an artist. Which question do you wish one of these journalists would finally ask you?
Ah, you put me on the spot. I don't know. I don't have a question I'd wish somebody would ask me. I know plenty of questions I wish they wouldn't ask me. Sure. The worst is when I really do, and it really does change the interview when you get someone and the first thing they say, can we start with this interview? Yes, fine. Recording? Yes, great. Okay, so Screaming of the Valkyries, 9 songs. Can you at length tell me everything about the song, the lyrics, how it was done, where you recorded it, who came the initial idea, what color jumper you were wearing and you're going, no, sorry. I literally said the other day, just go, no, no, I'll leave the interpretation up to the listener. But
Yeah,
I was like, we've got half an hour. You're asking me to go into detail on every song on the record.
yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I just, yeah.
I totally understand. I hope there weren't too many
No, no,
questions
no,
I
not
asked
to,
you.
absolutely not. I just wanted to say before you go that we have a new video coming out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
It should have come out 2 weeks ago with the release of the second single.
Yeah,
The thing was, the live stuff was recorded for it, the band performance, but the
yeah,
story part was being filmed in LA. And of course, the fires happened,
yeah,
and the studio had to be evacuated, and then it had to be deep cleaned after. And yeah, so it was only filmed last Thursday. So it's just shit happens.
yeah,
Um, get two stabs at the cherry that way, I guess, because people have already heard the single and then they'll get to see it married up to some amazing imagery. And then there'll be a third video just in time for the album's release on the 21st of March.
yeah.
Cool. This is Dani Filth from Cradle of Filth. And you, my friends, why? You're watching Neon Sunsets!